I'm Mar, and once again, this is my opinion. Halloween 2 ended things nicely. Laurie survived the night, while Loomis and Michael Myers died, Monster and Doctor burning to death. Following this, John Carpenter and Deborah Hill attempted to turn Halloween into an anthology series, leading to Season of the Witch. While hated at the time, it has since garnered its own following. Admittedly, I once hated the film, but age and rewatches have made it one of my favorites. Following 3, producer Mustafa Akkad returned the series to its roots and brought back Michael Myers. It took several drafts and the departure of Carpenter and Hill, but Akkad got his way, a straightforward sequel that brought Myers and Loomis back for another round of carnage. Taking place a decade after the first 2 entries, Halloween 4 explains that Michael somehow survived the explosion and has been in a coma. That changes one October night when he's being transferred back to Smith's Grove. One of the EMTs lets it slip that Michael has a niece living in Haddonfield, and boom! The shape is back in business. The body count rises as Michael returns home and stalks his niece. Ever vigilant, Loomis knows that Michael has escaped and follows him home. Once again, he enlists the help of the sheriff and strives to protect Michael's niece Jamie from the shape's wrath, leading to one of the better final moments in the series. While the story is derivative and it's not as suspenseful as the original, Halloween 4 is an entertaining sequel. Dwight Little directed it well, allowing the elements to blend nicely. He pulled correct performances from the actors, and at times his cinematography is creepy, not lit too darkly or too bright. Alan Howarth's interpretation of the classic theme helps here. The kills we see are unsettling, from the forehead thumb to the neck turn. There is blood, but the film never goes overboard. My favorite kill is easily the shotgun thrust. An interesting visual, there's something darkly comedic about Michael Myers holding a gun and simply using it as a stabbing implement. Perhaps one could write an entire paper on the phallic interpretation. Donald Pleasence gives another great performance as Dr. Sam Loomis. While his character's survival was improbable, it was nice to see him return, even if he doesn't have new material to work with. Modern Scream Queen Danielle Harris is great as Jamie Lloyd. Her first outing in the series, Danielle gave a believable performance. While it's obvious Danielle wasn't a trained actress at the time, her innocence aids her performance, especially during tense scenes. One can't help but root for her. Ellie Cornell is decent as Rachel, Jamie's older foster sister. Rounding out our leads, Ellie's performance falls between her fellows, not as innocent as Danielle, or as experienced as Donald. Her character is also a middle ground. While she does act like a typical teenager at times, including a moment early on where she accidentally upsets Jamie with a date comment, she is smarter than many of her counterparts in the genre. She runs when it's sensible, and even gets a few good shots in at Michael. While not as great as Dick Warlock, George P. Wilbur is good as the Shape. His movements and stance are naturally creepy and intimidating, although there are moments during the climax that look odd, even in context. He also conveys the invincibility aspect well. Wilbur was the first actor to play Michael Myers twice, reprising the role in Part 6. While I prefer the mask he wore there, his overall performance here was better. The rest of the cast act well enough, with Bu Starr as Sheriff Meeker standing out. Every Halloween film has sequences that stand out, and 4 is no exception, giving fans the rooftop chase. The scene is tense, with Jamie and Rachel avoiding the Shape while trying to maintain their footing. While even Michael must have proper footing, his quasi-immortality gives him an advantage. In the original script, the house was supposed to be on fire during this scene, but it was cut for budget reasons. With how great the final scene is, fire would have added to the drama. Avoiding Michael is bad enough, but trying to avoid him on a roof that could collapse at any moment would heighten things considerably. While not as noticeable as H2O, 4 does contain its own mask kerfluffle in the school. For several shots where Michael grabs Loomis, a different mask was used. The face was closer to the original, and the hair was blonde. For years, I'd heard that this was the original mask. The hair faded with age. According to the commentary on the DVD, this isn't the case. The crew simply didn't have the final mask on hand for some reason, used a different mask, and didn't redo those specific shots. Not a huge issue, but a noticeable one nevertheless. Sometimes the ending can be the hardest thing about a horror film to do correctly. Even if the majority of the film is great, a dud ending can kill the experience. This is one of my major issues with the Phantasm series. Halloween is usually good with this regard. The original had Michael vanish, while the sequel ended with him burning to death. Even Part 3 had its dark ambiguity regarding the commercial. Here, horror fans are treated to an excellent swerve. Jamie stabs her foster mother with scissors. Mirroring her uncle's infamous first kill, this brings things full circle. What sells this moment is Loomis's reaction. Donald Pleasence acts his heart out here, his vocal inflections pained as he sees another succumb to rage. Without another sequel, this would have been a good way to end things. But a COD couldn't have that, and the following year fans got Halloween 5, which completely ignored this ending. Oh, what could have been. While not perfect, Halloween 4 is a decent entry in the series. It continues the story well, gives us a likable lead, and delivers decent kills. From an unneeded sequel, what more could one ask for?